Hello, let me introduce myself. I'm Leland Lake, and I have a story and many pictures to share with you of a great experience with my son Steve, along with other scout leaders and 6 additional scouts, when we explored the great and famous south half of the John Muir Trail on Mount Whitney, California. Preparations and plans for the beginning of this hike actually began over a year prior to leaving on August the 16th, 1964. Would you believe this began 43 years ago? People have changed and some may not be with us anymore, but the memories are as strong as the days I wrote my diary and took slide pictures during our hike. Prior to our leaving, lots of work went into the planning of meals, transportation to be arranged, equipment to make, permits and legal releases on the boys, training with their personal gear and physical training. Also, the 3 burros, which required food and stable for them and the medical supplies for each man, boy, and animals, to name just a few details and last-minute events to be solved. And we took weekend hikes with the burros and the boys for additional training, and it was worth it. We went over many trails of the Southern California mountains, including San Jacinto above Palm Springs, California, and the next 5 pictures are some of the explorers training for the big hike. A forget-me-not for our 3 burros, Moses, Ray, and Jenny. They were the backbone of the trip and worked their little asses off. And to the Explorer boys as follows: Ron Winter, Tom Dye, Steve Lake, Bob Urich, Mike Olson, Paul Thompson, and Roger Schaefer, who started out as boys on the trip, but ended up as young gentlemen who had learned a lot about life and nature for 2 weeks and 125 miles of tough hiking. Don't forget the 3 men who were responsible for the planning of the entire operation: Herb Winter, Dick Dye, and Leland Lake, and their wives. All worked tirelessly over 12 plus months to make this happen. The next picture shows the Lake's 1959 Ford Coupe at a service station north of Bakersfield, California. We had lost the bearings in the engine, and after many frantic phone calls, a parent from our group came down the mountain and got us back with the group. We left the car there to be picked up at a later date. So let's begin our adventure and enjoy the beauty of the John Muir Trail. We're here at Florence Lake. This is August the 16th, 1964. It's Sunday. Said goodbye to our friends and family after loading our 3 burros and finally left at 11:20 a.m. We had our animals loaded heavy and also ourselves. Had to take several breaks during the first day. We ate lunch, had a sack lunch at Boulder Creek, unloaded, and then retied all our equipment. During the day 2 of our burros, laid down several times and had to be helped up. Holding their noses was a remedy for that. Had a pack train of horses and burros from the Dude Diamond D Ranch past us, going back to Florence Lake. The trail was dry and loose, causing a lot of dust. We arrived at Blaney Meadows, that's at 7,600 feet, at about 5:15 p.m. Made up our camp after taking care of the burros. All enjoyed the cool water from the creek. We had spaghetti and all the trimmings for supper. Some of the boys are down fishing, it's at 7:15. Others are thinking of bed. Weather today was clear, small breeze, and about 75 degrees. Monday, August the 17th. The next morning we all rested well, but some complained of stiff muscles in the AM. Ate a good breakfast. We're up at 6:30. KP and packing to go to Evolution Meadow today. It's cool here in the meadow. Sun breaking into the valley now. It's 7:30. Traveled along the river at about 8,000 foot elevation to two bridges, Paiute Creek and the South Fork of the San Joaquin, which gave us a time with our burros. They didn't want to go across that bridge. We had to drag the animals across both bridges, climbed up steep switchbacks to Evolution Meadow. That's at 9,200 feet. We arrived at 6:15 to a full campground. Many groups and families camped here. We had a quick supper and to bed early as everyone was tired. It's Tuesday now, August the 18th. We're up at 6:15. It's cool. Breakfast and cleanup. I've had to make adjustments on the harness. Burros losing some of their fat caused a problem, but hand filed out the rivets and used bolts in the holes to make it fit. 8 a.m., just about ready to leave. We'll try to go over the Muir Pass today. Leaving our camp in Evolution Meadow at 8:30. Now it's 10 o'clock and it started to rain. In McClure Meadow, we checked in with a ranger and got our fire permit. Decided to have an early lunch to save the time. Some hail. Weather is not good. It cleared up some in Colby Meadow. We started a steep climb from Evolution Creek at approximately 10,000 feet elevation up towards Evolution Valley on a rough switchback and had a few problems with our burros. Ray laid down and we removed his pack. He then rolled over on his back with all 4 feet in the air on a large rock with a steep drop. We used hair and ropes and everything, but we saved it. Passed several falls and into Evolution Basin. No trees at this altitude. This is 10,900 feet. Weather is cloudy, hailing at times. It's cold. We are heading for the Muir Pass, climbing in large rocks and bogs. Finally, we got to Lake Sapphire to rest. The weather was still bad. Had more rain and hail and no cover, no trees, cold and some wind. Met a few people coming down and they all said that it was wet on the other side of the Muir Pass. We were behind our schedule and decided to push on to the rock house at the top of the pass. Getting late. At this altitude, every step was lots of work, and also walking on stones a great deal. We got up to Wanda Lake which is 11,452 feet, and had more hail, but could see the pass from there, which was the goal to shoot at. 2 boys suffered from dizziness and upset stomach. The rest of us just gasping with our mouths open. We finally pulled up to the house about 6:45. Lots of people already there. 6 Sierra Club members, but they made us welcome. Snow here at the pass and some wind. This is at 12,059 feet. Moving around is a big effort. Had a late supper, fed the surplus food to the people inside, and they were like wolves. We cleaned up our pans, and 24 people packed inside for the night. But Dick, Herb, Lee, and Paul Thompson all slept outside. It was cool, but the skies cleared, and we could reach out and touch those stars along with the moon, which was nearly full. Discovered a large colored marmot under a large rock near where we were sleeping when morning came. He didn't seem to be afraid of us, but stayed near his house. We met 3 boys here who were going our way. We'll see them again. It's Wednesday now, on August the 19th. We're still at the cabin at the Muir Pass. We're up at 7. Lots of ice about. Looked down on the lakes that we had passed yesterday and could see about half of them covered with a sheet of ice. Our guests left early, and then 2 people hiking came by going south. Breakfast and cleaning up. Troop 54 from Whittier came by, making the loop trail from Lake Sabrina. We rested, and they rested here for about a half an hour. We left at 9 a.m. finally, burro equipment and packing boxes taking much of our time. Had to balance the loads each day. Much rock and many lakes to pass. Steep, dropping rapidly from 12,000 down to Helen Lake, which was 11,500, to 8,000. Some of the lakes we passed were deep green and obviously formed by glaciers. Much water, streams and springs everywhere. We're coming into Big Peat and Little Peat Meadow now. We passed many large peaks. Langley Peak, the Citadel, and Ladder Falls. We arrived south end of Grouse Meadows at 5:30. We washed up and patching our blisters, making supper, and we'll hit the hay early. At this point, blisters are a problem with almost all. This downhill sure will do it. Wreck your leg muscles too. August the 20th, Thursday, we're up at 6:30. Everyone slept hard. Gave out some Dramamine pills last night. Beautiful morning, clear. 2 boys caught 2 fish each last night. Our late start seems in getting up in the AM and loading the burros. They are doing that now here in Gross Meadow. It's 8:30 now, and we have a steep climb today of about 2,500 feet. All of us were privileged today in letting our burros carry our plastics and sleeping air mattresses. We left at 8:50, passing now to the east, climbing fairly steep through a beautiful canyon towards Palisades Pass and Lake through Deer Meadow. We stopped for lunch at 12 o'clock and break at about 2/3 the way up at the base of a mean rocky switchback. One man and 2 horses passed us here, going also to Whitney. Stopped. We operated on Steve's 2 blisters and checked my own. We stopped on the trail in some willows, no room anywhere else. Loading now and will be underway by 1:15. About halfway up, we're passed by a pack-in party on horseback, past numerous falls, and the view back was breathtaking of Mount Citadel. Arrived at the crest of Lower Palisades Lake. At this point, we had climbed approximately 2,600 feet, continued to the Upper Palisades Lake against the boys' wishes, but made it less for us to go tomorrow. We arrived about 6 p.m. and had to go down and off the main trail again, approximately 240 feet, and camped at a lakeside. Beautiful scenery with falls spilling over rocks and into the lake. I washed here in the creek. Cool? No, it was cold. And then made biscuits for all. After supper, the boys fished and numerous fish were caught. We decided to have a fish fry by moonlight, which was full. We all ate fresh fish until 10 p.m. and everyone had a full belly. Sky turned clear and the stars and the moon were bright like streetlights. Here at the lakeside, we are approximately 10,800 feet. 2 of our friends had made camp above us. The other boy just came in alone. He had been climbing Mount Sill by himself, but only got up halfway as it was getting late. These kids do some foolish things. Guess we all do though. Glad it's all turned out okay. August the 21st, Friday. Well, this morning up at 7 a.m. Cold and much frost. Most everyone's sleeping bag was wet with frost as it dropped down below freezing. Morning chores were slow and we finally got underway at 9:50. We're climbing over rocks and switchbacks up the Mather Pass, which is 12,000 feet. Rough and steep. There's no vegetation, only rocks at this altitude. We climbed this in 1 hour and 40 minutes. Good time considering the trail. We rested at the top and then down a steep series of switchbacks. This pass we just went over is 12,000. Hard to breathe with this exercise. Climb down into an area called the Upper Basin, which is about 11,000 feet. Continued down to the South Fork of the Kings River to the Bench Lake turnoff. Past the Taboose Trail, which was only 2 miles away to the crest and 9.5 miles down a 30-degree slope to Highway 395. We all kidded about going down to Aberdeen for the night, cold beer and sandwiches. We were camped at a small lake just below Lake Marjorie, and from this campsite can look across the valley to the north and see the Mather Pass and all of the country we traveled this afternoon, approximately 6.5 miles. We are just above timberline here. Supper was warm and filling. Chili and beans and hot applesauce with punch and coffee. Supper over with now at 7:30, and the boys are talking of going to Lake Marjorie for fishing. Our campsite tonight is at 11,000 and amongst a few scrubby pines at Timberline. The boys are back, but no fish. Went to the wrong pond and discovered their mistakes too late. August the 22nd is Saturday. We're up at 10 after 6, early breakfast. Cool but dry. We did our KP and got gear ready. Ready to leave for the Pinchot Pass at 8:15 a.m. Hard climb up to the pass and rocky switchbacks. We made it to the top in an hour and 40 minutes. A beautiful sight and some snowbanks at this altitude of 12,000. Down the other side to an upper plateau and many steep rocky switchbacks on the high plateau. Some meadow and small pond, mostly downgrade for about 5 miles into a wooded area. We dropped down to Twin Lake, which was 10,566 feet. At 1 p.m. we had lunch and a leisurely afternoon, and boys and men went fishing, climbing mountains and doing out washing, patching air mattresses, and a few people camped in this area. I found 2 holes in my air mattress, and am I glad, as I've been on the ground for 3 nights. Well, it's Sunday, August the 23rd. We're up at 6 a.m. Boys rolled out good. They had a big fish fry last night. Some ate 12 apiece. About 74 were caught altogether. We're doing the KP now and cleaning up. Now it's at 8 a.m. We'll load our burros soon and head for the Upper Ray Lakes, which is about 12 miles away. Having a bowel problem with one boy. Tonight will make 72 hours for him, and we are concerned. We have used X-Lax first and now 2 doses of Fleet's liquid. Time will tell. 8:30? Thank goodness. Our boy with the problem just blew the cork. Everyone quite relieved. We're leaving now at 8:40. Walking down now following the Woods Creek Canyon. Came to the junction in the JohnMuir Trail and located a geodetic survey marker. The altitude at 10,575 feet. And they did this in 1951. We continued down the canyon to Woods Creek Junction and rested while locating a suitable crossing point for our animals. We noticed a base camp of National Park Service men. It was a work party. They had hauled in 100-pound bags of cement with special harnesses for their animals. They were going to construct a bridge over the creek. We have about 6.5 miles to Ray Lake and the National Park Service. Man said it was uphill all the way. Boy, was he right. We stopped along the stream called Baxter Creek for lunch, about 1 1/3 miles above the junction. Everyone tired and hot. Altitude here about 9,000 feet, and we'll go higher today. It's now 1:30, and we have taken an hour so far. Had a delicious lunch of 6 soda crackers, a large slice of Velveeta and Spam with cherry drink made from creek water. Passed through a large area of diseased trees. They look as though they just dried up. Traveled up in this canyon to the second lake in the Ray Lakes area. And this one was called Lake Arrowhead. It was about 10,500 feet mark. We met a nice National Park Service ranger here. Had two large thunderheads building and coming at us from the north. We will rig for rain. Tonight, some boys just used ground cloth. Herb made up his tube, and Dick and Lee put up one of the parachute nylon tents. I'm in it now and very comfortable. Oh, of that, back at Palisades Lake, I must have punctured at least 2 holes in my air mattress, so have been on the ground ever since. Had a good supper of meat stew and fruit galaxy for dessert. Hot chocolate also. Bedded down at 8:30, but some stayed up and ate fish till about 10 p.m. Lucky us, no rain. Missed us about 2 miles. Well, it's Monday now on August the 24th. The day of days. Slept in, no rush. Got up about 8. Dick got up about 6 and had pert coffee and churro with our park service ranger, who had the tent about 100 yards from here. From the beginning, he has been a most gracious host. Young lad, summer job, going to Oregon State College. Nice personality, and we have certainly made him welcome in our camp. Many fish here. Some started catching them this AM, but had to stop for breakfast. I fixed pancakes and scrambled eggs with hot chocolate for 3 hours until 11:45, and then announced to all I quit and was going fishing. Most everyone is catching their limit of brook trout today. For washing clothes, I'm up on that department as I washed back at Twin Lakes. Sky has been clear and nice and warm in the sunshine. A few clouds building up from the southeast, but don't think it will rain. Everyone is relaxing, even the burros, and it is a real treat just to lay around and do nothing if you want to. Roger Schaefer and Steve Lake decided to climb a mountain here called Thin Dome, which towers above us and is over 12,000 feet. Steve came back in about 3 hours and said he decided not to go to the top and up to the top. He said he was glad that, we were glad, of course, that he did. He said Roger, the other boy, made it to the top and was on the way down. About an hour later, sure enough, here he came, all safe. He and the ranger talked about this, and come to find out, the ranger made it up there in June this year and wondered if Roger had signed the register, which he had. We were all glad that it was a good experience. Every time I turn around, I see someone eating fish. Guess I'll go and fry my 7 that I caught so far. The other men, Herb and Dick, are repacking the food cans, getting ready for tomorrow and our climb over Glen Pass. Fish was fried until about 10 p.m. and all the rest of the day's catch was wrapped up and will maybe fry tomorrow night. It's now Tuesday, August the 25th, and we're still in the Ray Lakes area. We're up at 5:50, and everyone rolled out between 6 and 6:15. Had our tent up and very comfortable, and thank goodness there was no rain. We had cereal with cooked apples and hot chocolate. Got all our gear together and loaded. Finally got underway at 8:20, heading for Glen Pass. This Ray Lakes area is difficult to describe in words. The natural beauty to be seen from the trail, and we took many pictures all the way up to the Glen Pass. There were at least 7 small hidden lakes just below the pass, around 11,500 feet. The trail was very rocky and many switchbacks. We all grouped up on top at 10:30, and 2 young men and a family with 2 young boys were there. I began to experience my first problems with altitude at 11,978 feet. The ladies' shoes were coming apart, and I put tape on them and had to put my head down to do it. I noticed small black spots in my vision, and my stomach felt tight and as though I had worms in it. I took a Dramamine at once and it worked. Had to change the film in my camera as I wanted 2 shots of those peaks to the south of us. We discussed whether or not the peak with the snow we could see to the north was the one we passed at Upper Palisades Lake. We'll have to check on this, as that distance represents 7 days on the trail. Our descent was very, very rapid, and we passed 2 rock-bound pools of snow water, but was no good to drink for lunch. Passed at least 9 people coming up. We kept descending, looking for decent water for lunch. Everyone's getting hungry. It's late for lunch. Came around the mountain to Charlotte Lake, which was about 350 feet below our trail. We then came to a junction of 3 trails, Kearsarge Pass and Bullfrog Lake. Continued downhill towards Vidette Meadow and found a creek about halfway down for a rest and lunch. We had beef noodle soup with potatoes and fruit punch. Everyone was hungry. So from 1:30 to 2:45, we had our lunch. Continued on down the switchbacks to the valley floor at Bullfrog Creek. We then climbed up the valley following Bub's Creek towards Center Peak. Found a good campsite in Upper Vidette Meadow with a stand-up stove and stand-up table. Met a gentleman here who was a college professor and 57 years old. He was just leaving but stayed for a while to talk. He's doing the entire John Muir by himself and taking a month. Most of us found him interesting. He holds a PhD in mechanical engineering and teaches aerodynamics at Kansas State University. We had a supper of corned beef hash with potatoes and corn, hot chocolate, and later Herb baked up some cornbread. My, that was good. Just black on one side. Herb stayed up that night and smoked fish till 12 and went to all the trouble to make a smoker out of one of our empty cans. Air mattress is holding up fine. We'll use it now at 9:30 p.m. Oh, by the way, had a beautiful sunset against those jagged peaks, the granite walls on the south and the north of us. Kearsarge Pinnacles, it's called. Well, it's Wednesday, August the 26th. We're up at 6:30 this morning, cool but dry. Used one of our tents for a windbreak last night, and it worked fine. We had a breakfast of mush, hot milk drink, and Jell-O with Galaxy fruit added. Very tasty. Donkeys had strayed during the night and had to round them up. Everyone got 2 fish this a.m. that Herb had smoked and were very good. Got out of camp at 8:20, heading towards Forester Pass. Our camp last night was about 10,400 feet, and we were only 3.5 miles from the pass. This is a rough climb, and one switchback after another. Several small lakes up here above 12,000 feet. They are deep green. Only rocks at this altitude and rough trail to walk on. Finally, we got to the top. It was very slow at 13,200 at 11:50. We rested and enjoyed the view in all directions. After our rest, and also letting a party of about 8 go down ahead of us, we started our descent. Very steep and rough, dangerous turns and ledges. Made it down to the face of a small lake where we are now, and had lunch of kipper snacking sardines, 6 soda crackers, 2 cups of lemonade, and 1 box of raisins, and a ration of chocolate each. Everyone tired, and even one of the donkeys took a nap. Loading up now at 2 p.m. and we'll hit the down trail again to Timberline. Passed down a high plateau, seemed like it was many miles, through 3 scattered clumps of trees, finally down to Tyndall Creek, and up a hill about a half a mile to a campsite near a small lake. Our professor friend from Kansas came by and talked with us. We invited him to supper, and we had chicken and noodles, malt drink, and tea. He left us then, but later we had Sierra salad, tapioca pudding, and Paul Thompson baked 2 loaves of gingerbread, which were very good. Had a campfire, and Ronnie and Mike popped corn for all of us. My, but we were living high on the hog. All to bed now at 9:30. Clear skies, stars are out, but no moon yet. August the 27th, Thursday, up at 6:30. Dick was out to find the burros and no luck. Breakfast of mush and hot apple with milk and malt drink. All gear ready to go, but no burros. Used 5 boys and 2 men. We spread out in a big fan and went down the side of the hill to the creek below, but no luck. Then decided to follow the ridge north in the same manner, and after a few hundred yards, I found them just standing there in a group looking at us. I think those jackasses knew what they were doing. Finally loaded and on the trail at 9:50. Climbed some and went over the Bighorn Plateau. 3 stock horses were grazing here. No trees here. Followed the trail down and through a series of switchbacks. We came to Wallace Creek, and also a junction in the trail. We had potato soup and orange drink, second and some thirds. Ron still having a stomach problem, but had found relief with milk and chocolate. We arrived at 11:30 and ready to leave now at 1:10. Did some climbing out of Walnut Creek and finally got in the area of Crabtree Meadow. That's near Sandy Meadow, when we met the ranger on the trail. He was going down to the Kern River after 3 of his stock. It's a 3-day trip, by the way. He signed our fire permits and asked the usual questions about how many of us there were and where we're from and what's your grazing policy with the stock and so forth. Seemed to be a nice chap, and we gave him a postcard, and he will send the name of the ranger we met at Ray Lakes. We continued down the trail to Whitney Creek and down to Crabtree Meadow. Made our camp along the meadow, and everyone washed up and also washed clothes. Had a big supper of chipped beef gravy over potatoes and string beans with berry drink. KP over with now, and we just told we were at 10,700 feet here in the meadow. Tired but feel good. Have all of our meals planned out and put in the cans. Sleeping in the morning. Some are planning a fishing trip up to Crabtree Lake in the AM. We will move up to Guitar Lake in the PM for our assault on Mount Whitney Saturday. August the 28th, Friday. Dick and Herb and Tiny got up about 6:30 a.m. and had a small breakfast. Went up to Crabtree Lake, about 3 miles, and tried fishing. Returned about 12:30 and no luck. The rest of us stayed in bed until around 8. And then we had coffee, scrambled eggs, hot cakes, syrup, and some jam. Also enjoyed the gingerbread that the boys baked over the fire last night. Leisurely, we got our gear together, and when everyone got here, we made lunch about 1 o'clock. We had potato soup, very heavy, and mixed fruit drink. We washed and loaded our equipment now at about 2:45. We'll hit the trail soon for Guitar Lake, and we'll have a big supper there tonight. Left Crabtree Meadow Camp at 3 o'clock and retraced our path along the Whitney Creek to the ranger station. Started a good climb, some rocks and twisting. Climbed up to Timberline Lake and had trouble getting Moses across a creek. Rested a bit for 5 minutes or so, and then along with a few other campers and continued our climb towards those high crags, which at this point to literally box us in, and you can't see any way out. And then the trail flattened out, and there just below us was Guitar Lake with a nice clear creek flowing into it. We are camped here among the rocks, and that's all there is. And supper is cooking now on our Primus stove. This is a strange sight. As we got here, we saw the seagulls in flocks of them, and here they were at this altitude of almost 12 to 13,000 feet. Tonight we're going to feast on chili mac in chili and beans and Spanish rice. It's cold now in the shadows at 6:45. And we all have our hooded sweatshirts on, and we really need them. Surely it must freeze tonight, the way it feels now. Planning on having hot tea, which we did, and everyone ate up everything that was fixed. In bed now at 8 p.m. while writing this, as that's the warmest place I can find. Sunset is beautiful, pink on those gray spires around us. We'll try for an early start in the morning. It's cold. August the 29th, Saturday, the big day. Up at 6:30, boys up, packing their gear without being told. Cold. Ice in the canvas bucket to about 25 degrees. Zoom cereal and hot tea. Getting KP done and equipment loaded. It's now 7:45 and things are beginning to shape up. No sun down here by the lake. The peaks are too high. We'll be starting our hike while it's cold, climbing up a series of switchbacks and rough rock towards the crest past Hitchcock Lake, having to pause often for breath because of the altitude. Finally, we arrived at the Whitney Junction at 10:20. Everyone except Dick and the jackasses decided to go on to the top, which is about 2 miles more. It's a one-way trip. The trip to the top was slow because of the altitude, but the scenery was something. Having to stop every 100 yards or so for breath. The trail crest is 13,600 feet. It took an hour and a half to get to the top, and naturally the boys got there first. Took several pictures and looked in the stone house that was built in 1909 and signed the register that is up there. By the way, this is an altitude 14,500 feet. Coming down, it only took 38 minutes to the trail crest. Dick had romanced the burros up to the trail crest by himself. It was a mean trail, and he took them down the east side by himself and had had many experiences. Words are too few to describe his problems. What with the animals wanting to make new trails down sheer cliffs and also meeting a pack train of riders on horses, Dick took the burros down to Constitution Lake, and we caught up with them there at 2:25 p.m. and had lunch. Everybody was starved. Had sardines, kippered herring, deviled ham, 6 crackers, 3 batches of berry drink. Coming down from Whitney, we went over many switchbacks, which were stinkers, steep and loose rock, very dangerous. After 3 p.m., we started loading up and went down towards the Whitney portals. Meeting many people now on the trail, and also lots of debris, gum wrappers, tin cans, and so forth. If you bring it in, you take it out. It's disgusting. Downgrade all afternoon to camp and our families. Very tired, but happy to see everyone. Cleaned up and change of clothes and fixing supper for us now at 7:35. It's dark here in the shadows. A wonderful feeling of being with our loved one and yet having shared an unforgettable experience with our partners on the trail. Supper was wonderful. steaks, corn, bread, and fresh milk and butter, mashed potatoes and gravy. All the boys naturally ate more than they really should. Pepto-Bismol to the rescue. All slept well, and in the morning we had fried bacon and eggs, bread, butter, jam, milk, and apple juice. Packed all the burros and gear and leaving camp here at the portals now at 9:20. The party consisted of 3 men, Herb Winter, Dick Dye, and Leland Lake. 7 explorers, Ron Winter, Tom Dye, Steve Lake, Bob Urich, Mike Olson, Paul Thompson, and Roger Schaefer, and our 3 burros, Moses, Ray, and Jenny. As we completed our hike at Aberdeen Campground, California, near Highway 395, they did have cold beer. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Many thank yous to all our Scout leaders, Scouts, and thank yous to each wife, mother who assisted during the planning and completion of this wonderful experience. Many thanks also to Carol Blake of Blake Video Services Incorporated in El Dorado, California, with a deep sense of gratitude for her professional guidance in producing this film. Her suggestions and tips were timely and greatly appreciated.